Thanks for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Nation newspaper. The major story here says Buhari's declaration in Bauchi, Tinubu is incoming president. Buhari in Bauchi, Tinubu is incoming president. You find all the details on the front page of the Nation newspaper. We'll move now to the front page of the Blueprint. Buhari to Nigerians. I have discharged my duties creditably well. Attends Bauchi rally. Lawan says PDP abandoned us to insurgency. You find all the details on the front page of the Blueprint. And now we'll move to the front page of the Daily Times, still talking about the president's speech in Bauchi. He says, I've served Nigerians creditably. President Buhari speaking says, I have not disappointed anybody. Inaugurates $1.5 billion Lekki Deep Seaport Rice Mill, Besta Lubricant Plant in Lagos. And on the front page of the First News newspaper now, I've not disappointed Nigerians. I've fulfilled promises, says Buhari. I've not disappointed Nigerians. I've fulfilled my campaign promises, says President Muhammadu Buhari. If you want all the details, looking to the first page of the First News newspaper. Mike.
All right, the Punch newspaper is the next place we're going now, and it says power outage disrupt APC rally stops Buhari. Tinubu's speeches. All right, APC National Working Committee to probe incident and says Bauchi rally successful. All right, that's what the Punch newspaper has. Power outage disrupts APC rally, stops Buhari with Tinubu's speeches. All right, that's what the Punch says. Nigerian News Direct is next and is talking about Lekki Deep Seaport. It says federal government targets $360 billion in, okay? That's for economic vitality and employment opportunities. NIMASA is saying this. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. Let's go to Daily Trust. Daily Trust says, old Naira notes, Nigerians fear massive losses as deadline draws near. Business owners give January 25 deadline, and food prices soar as traders reject old notes. The family rejects old notes as bride price. Family rejects old notes as bride price. Okay, let's just make the transfer because this marriage must happen. All right, let's move to this Nigeria. This Nigeria says 2.4 million persons displaced by floods in 2022, says NEMA. 2.4 million persons flood in 2022, says NEMA, right? That's what this Nigeria has. Business Day is next, and it says diesel rises 184%, defies global oil prices swings, right? Diesel rises 184%, defies global oil prices swings. That's what the big story on the front page of Business Day is. From there, let's go to the Leadership newspaper, which is the last one we're looking at now. More patients at risk as MITs drain blood banks. More patients at risk as MITs drain blood banks. That's what you see on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Veronica?
All right, Mike, let's look at this story that is on some of the papers this morning and will be of interest to a majority of Nigerians, talking about President Muhammadu Buhari saying he has served Nigerians creditably well and that he did not disappoint Nigerians and that he has fulfilled his campaign promises. He was saying that when he went to the Emir of Bauchi's palace. Recall that the APC was in Bauchi, I think yesterday, where they went to campaign. And now he has said that, you recall that even before now, he has always said that he has done his best for Nigerians. And that it was even his people, the people in his cabinet, that are not speaking about what he has done. Yeah. And now he has to keep saying it. At least if you don't blow my trumpet, I will blow it for myself.
Whether he's blowing it enough is totally a different thing.
So he's saying that, you know what, he has done creditably well. Yeah. How that will sit with a majority of Nigerians, it will be, of course, there will be those who would say no, and there will be those who will say yes to what he has said.
The point there is, from what he has said, he has done his best. In fact, what he did was his best. It's always your best you do anytime that anything happens. And if you want to count some of the things he has done, of course, there are things to point at, if we have to be fair to the president. Now, recall when he came in, there were some persons who campaigned against him that he was going to Islamize Nigeria, at least for a start. But we have seen in that area, nothing has happened. In fact, recently, when the Catholic bishops paid him a visit, I understand there was a joke he threw at Bishop of Sokoto saying, have I Islamized you, and things like that. That when it comes to, he came up on three point agenda.
Security.
One was security,
corruption.
Economy, corruption. Now, them one by one, especially in the area of security. Let's start from there, which is very visible. Now, the president has been able to fortify the Nigerian military to the level where, one way or the other, the fight against Boko Haram has been so intense that under his administration, he was able to recover some territories, and then make some Boko Haram, neutralized a lot of them, and then made some of them to surrender. All that is on record, including bandits and so on. However, when it comes to kidnapping, when it comes to armed robbery, that is another phase altogether, because there is no concentration of that in the northeast or northwest only anymore. There are issues of kidnapping everywhere. In fact, Edo State right now and the Imo State, in fact, the southeast generally are hotbeds for insecurity. Right now, I just heard that there's a new militancy in South-South. You rejuvenated it, to something, as the case may be. So we're seeing all of these insecurity around. So it's debatable in the area of insecurity. If it's corruption, okay. We have seen also that anybody would even say the president is a perfect gentleman. The president there is nothing he wants. He's just somebody who wants Nigeria to function. Of course, everybody will agree with that. But under the administration too, we've heard a lot of reports of monies.
You recall that he even mentioned one case at a particular time when there were reports that Nigeria has a number of poor persons, who multidimensional poverty. Over 100 million persons have come under multidimensional poverty. And he spoke about a certain governor or government official where he would say he has collected this money, and then he will give about 50%, and then he will keep 50%. I wonder if you recall that story that he gave. And to say why certain persons are not getting the benefit of governance.
Of course.
And then there are some governors are embarking on projects that are not of benefit to the people.
Very good.
So we also have that aspect.
Of course. These are all the corruption issues that one can point out to. Of course, the president cannot be everywhere. But the issue there is, we've seen the EFCC fight corruption. We've seen the EFCC recover monies. We've also seen people go with a lot of reports that we've seen. We've not forgotten the allegations against the former Accountant General of the Federation.
Absolutely.
And all of that. There are still so many others that we have seen back and forth. Then in the area of the economy, that's another ballgame altogether. Of course, we've seen infrastructure, the has been completed. We've seen the real projects, across that is going on. The projects are going on. We saw he just commissioned the deep sea. He also just commissioned the deep sea, Lekki deep sea port, and all of that. There is all of this going on. However, if you look at the inflation rate, it is high up in the heavens. So all of this are mixed. It depends on where you're seeing it from. The president could be right in one aspect of analyzing these issues. He has done his best, and so on. But if you look at the other side, whether Nigerians are satisfied enough based on what they thought.
If your best is not good enough.
Very good. Yeah. So these are all the things. Nigerians are going to sit down and dissect all of those. Another thing
and
there
don't
is...
forget also our debt profile.
Oh, of course. Has risen.
To the highest
levels. Of course.
So that's all the yardstick on which
Nigerians will see, well, Nigerians will count all of those. Because if you're saying economy, you've done well. Of course, there are things you have put forth that we are seeing here and there. But on the other hand, food inflation, in fact, that's even where to start from. The average man on the street, when it comes to electricity tariffs, they've increased, transportation costs have increased, costs of food have increased, debt profile has increased, inflation rate has increased, poverty rate has increased, corruption perception rate has increased. So when you see all of those, one would say, okay, how did you do? How do we juxtapose this against the issue of the fact that you've done well, and what marks do we give you? Under 100%, what marks do we give you? Even if the president gives himself, say, 80 or 90% or even 100%, as the case may be, a lot of Nigerians may decide to mark him below average. Where they are seeing it from.
Because they look at the trajectory. They're talking about, he is the Minister of Petroleum, for
instance.
Of course. Now we are going through fuel scarcity situation, and there are talks about conspiracy of silence. Nobody is speaking to addressing the matter why we are facing this kind of a situation. And then there's also the matter of oil theft, which is also being addressed, although over time, we have seen the level of theft that has gone on with regards to oil. And then one just looks at it and you sit back and say, really?
No, in that area, Nigerians have been very disappointed. Not necessarily only at this government, but at governments
successive
as a whole.
Governments.
Because the point there is, we have been drilling oil since the 50s, before our independence. And up until now, we've not mastered the craft or the act or process of drilling oil from the upstream to the midstream and to the downstream, where distribution and all of that, even countries that don't have oil, these things. How much more Nigeria? Nigeria, like we say, is not the only oil producing country in the world. So if you call Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and you call all of those countries who have perfected all of those, why is it so difficult or challenging to go there and imbibe their own formula and bring here? There are so many petrochemical engineers and whatever engineers we have that are consultants to multinational oil companies around the world. So why is it difficult for Nigeria to adopt that system? So the issue there is, like you said, of course I know time is gone, but like you said,
we are still talking.
The president, our president currently right now, under him, Nigeria shouldn't even have been witnessing any disruption in oil. You know why? Minister of Petroleum before. He has been head of state before. He was chairman PTF. Currently, he's the head of state, and currently he is also the Minister of Petroleum. So when it comes to experience, forget about whether he didn't study petrochemical engineer, but when it comes to experience, but everyone assumes that he should know everything, that the entire chain of oil distribution, oil business, and every oil thing that has to do with whatever, not just in Nigeria, but in West Africa, and even around the world. So Nigerians expect that.
It's even, there's the other issue of healthcare. We've seen the level of strike with regards to those in the healthcare, offering healthcare services, and then the level of their migration out of the country.
The health jackpot system.
So much so, the Minister for Labour said at some point, he was quoted as saying that we have enough, so those that want to go should go. But then we are beginning to see the impact of these people leaving. And the level of jackpotting, as it has been said, was massive. During...
It's still massive.
It's still massive. Well, it's still ongoing. It's massive, even in his regime. We can say that education also suffered a lot when it comes to strike. You saw what happened. Now we have Konwa. Under him, we had an extension.
Exactly.
Konwa. And it's no longer ASU alone. We have Konwa that is even now begging that ASU salaries be paid. These are the issues that a lot of Nigerians will, mark or judge his performance on, how it affects them directly.
Yeah.
Yes, you did the roads. We must give that credit to you for all of that. You did a lot of infrastructure. But these are the issues that the average Nigerians want to see addressed. Talk about electricity. We saw when he came in. We saw, in fact, I think for 6 months or for a number of months, there was constant electricity, and Nigerians were like, this can happen.
Because they were looking from the prism of the Buhari they knew in the 80s.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But now the situation is terrible.
Yeah.
Yet we are the ones supplying some neighboring countries with electricity, constant electricity, but we at home cannot boast of 24 hours. What is 24? 12-hour electricity.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
And when it comes to the electricity that you mentioned, the countries we are supplying electricity to from Kainji Dam have been owing Nigeria. In fact, there was a threat at the time that we're going to shut down a supply of electricity to them if they don't pay us all of the monies they've been owing. So the point there is that we do Big Brother for West African countries. We know that, of course, Nigeria is West Africa, Africa is West Africa, West Africa is Nigeria. The economy of Nigeria feeds the entire West African region. But the point there is, we still in the an independent country, different from all of these countries in West Africa. And we have to be able to put them, as we relate with them, we also put them where everybody, belongs, as the case may be. Yeah. So if there is an agreement that we're going to supply you so amount of electricity to your country at whatever rates and so on, and these are the processes of payments. This is how you pay us back and so on. Either you pay us directly every month or every year or whatever the arrangement is.
Yeah.
Nigerians expect that money should come in because it's supposed to be foreign exchange for Nigeria.
And should benefit us.
And should benefit Nigeria. So when we do Big Brother, mother of the nations or mother of the continent, of course we are. But then when we do all that to the detriment of an average Nigerian, that is what Nigerians are saying. How does Nigeria value the life of an average Nigeria? How does the government do that? What's the dignity of the out of 20 trillion, budget of whatever? How do you calculate all those monies in relationship to the Nigerian that you want to make his life or her life better?
His life,
exactly.
Yeah.
So if we have one Nigerian, how much will cater to a Nigerian through the year? Every day, for 1 month, for 1 quarter, for 1 year of that budget. How much money are you allocating to that Nigerian, and how much are you expecting from that Nigerian? All of those things should be calculated. These are the things Nigerians expect. So when they say, okay, poverty, if you drive down the streets, many of the things you do, in fact, sometimes it feels like you can touch poverty
you
on the street.
Actually.
So that's the feeling. So is happening, everything is okay. No, it's not okay. They know where it is pinching them. A man or a woman who goes to bed hungry, you cannot, and wearing good clothes, you cannot judge him by, you're wearing good clothes, so all is well. If he's hungry, he's hungry. Absolutely. And that is what will matter to him more than the clothes that he's wearing.
Definitely.
So that's a case of Nigeria, because sometimes we need to tell ourselves the truth.
Absolutely.
And
situate things as they are.
Yeah. The issue of diplomacy, politics is there sometimes, especially when you meet with other citizens of the world where you want to, we're Nigerians, that's there. But there are times where, when we come back home, we tell each other the truth. Okay, this is not working. This is not working. All right, this is okay here. You were good here. And this has to be improved. That has to be amended, and so on. So I believe that a lot of Nigerians may not necessarily agree with the president in all the things.
Because there was also the aspect, quickly, let me just quickly bring this in, of when we shut down the Twitter.
Yeah.
Which a lot of Nigerians will not forget. That aspect with regards to him. When they want to remember the president, that case will always come to mind. Because it was as if the civil space was shrinking at the time, where people cannot speak up.
Yeah.
So it was like, what are we having here? Is this really a democracy?
Yeah. The point there is that Twitter episode had sides to it.
Yeah.
Now, the issue of has Twitter become the benchmark that we all will measure free speech? Where do we separate the idea of free speech from Twitter being a company that is making profit in itself? These are the issues. Now, the issue of Twitter activities, security of the country, based on the platform being available from the reports that we, being the platform being available to people who have been using it to incite other people, all of those issues are there.
That's on the one hand.
Payment of tax is there.
It's another issue.
Obedience of the local rules and regulation and the laws of the country are all there. So the issues of Twitter has so many sides. However, what triggered the suspension of Twitter in Nigeria at that time was what was more, that was part of what Nigerians criticized the most.
Yeah.
Because if the president sent out a tweet and Twitter is saying, this your tweet goes against our own rules and regulation, taken down. And you say, okay, because of that, we're suspending. Then it looks like some persons are above the law and all of that. Now, if Twitter is being suspended, if the reasons alluded at that time were straightforward, that the platform has become a medium by which people are inciting other people to undermine Nigeria's sovereignty and integrity, as the case may be, or it is the issue of you're supposed to pay taxes and you have not been paying taxes, or on the other hand, you're supposed to obey, you're supposed to have an office within the country, you don't have an office. If all of those things were put forward, Nigerians would have seen it differently at that time. Right?
Absolutely.
Fine. So these are the things. But Twitter remains a company. It's a business company listed and it's a profit-making company, as much as it's a platform for free speech. So Nigerians needed to understand those dimensions.
So how it was handled was also another
matter. How it was handled was another issue altogether. But recall that when a lot of people were using different devices, VPNs and all of that, to access anywhere in the world.
But for another set of persons who were using the platform as for their businesses was a major challenge.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because a lot of persons were losing revenue at the time.
Of course, they'll be